Alright, welcome back. So in our last video we created this interface, but it doesn't do anything. Nothing happens when we click calculate total. We could have something happen when we click the checkbox, nothing happens. In this video we're going to talk about creating interaction, how to respond to events, to the user doing something. So I'm going to close this. Let's first respond to the button calculate. If they click that button, we want to calculate the total. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of this code. And the first step is actually to create a new class inside of our Amazon Frame class. And I've renamed this Amazon Frame 2 so that you'll be able to see both versions of the code before the interaction and after up on Canvas. We're going to create a new class that's actually inside this. So the Amazon Frame 2 class hasn't closed. I'm going to create a private class called Calculate Button Handler. And I'm going to say it implements action listener. And that is a way of telling Java this class will be used to handle an action, like someone clicking on our button. Inside that class, we're going to create a method called actionPerformed. It's going to be public void actionPerformed, and it's going to take as a parameter action event E. Once we're done with this, we are going to tie the calculate button to this calculate button handler. If someone clicks on the button, it'll call the actionPerformed method. So we'll see our third step is to connect that button to this class, but right now we need to write the method. We need to tell it what to do if someone clicks on the button. I'll add in the basic outline here to calculate how much the total is, but we need to do some additional steps. We need to figure out how much the user spent. Well, essentially that's typed into our text box. So that is in txt amount purchased. We can get the text from that, but that's a string and we really need a double. So we're going to do something called parsing it. We're going to do double.parseDouble and we give it a string. That's going to take the string from the text box and parse it, understand it as a double. If it's not a number, we'll have an exception just like we would when we're getting input from the keyboard. But assuming it is a number, this will all work. We'll get the double back, whatever they typed into the amount purchased text box. And we'll say, well, if the amount purchased is greater than or equal to 35, and I should replace this with a constant, I'll do that after I'm finished recording the video. But if amount purchased is greater than or equal to 35, or what if they checked that prime checkbox? So let's find out if they did that. chk prime dot is selected is going to tell us, is the checkbox checked? If that's true, shipping should be 0. If it's not, shipping should be $3.99, and then this calculates the total. So what do we do with the total? Well, we've got a label where we want to put that total. So we'll do lbl total.setText, but setText needs a string. We can do this in two ways. We might be combining a string plus our number, so that would turn it into a string by doing the plus sign here, because we've got a string plus a double. But if we just want the double, we can also use double.toString and pass in our total here. So double dot, you'll notice the capital D in double.parseDouble takes a string and turns it into a number. Double.toString takes a number, turns it into a string. So I think this method will work perfectly. Now we need to tell the button when someone clicks on you, go to the calculate button handler, call the actionPerformed method. So we're going to go up to our button and add an action listener. And we'll say a new calculate button handler. So whatever we named our class, we're going to create a new object of that type. And it has an action listener that we wrote specifically to respond to someone acting on, clicking on the button. Let's run this. And if we spend $40, our total is going to be 40. If we spend $30, our total is going to be 30 plus $3.99 for shipping. What if we're a Prime member? Then it's still just 30. Now let's have our program respond to the checkbox. So if they click the checkbox, we're going to highlight that checkbox. It'll be yellow. If they unclick it, it'll go back to the original color. So we're going to do the same three-step process. First, we're going to create a new private class. And I'll call this Prime Checkbox Handler. And it'll implement action listener. So that's step 1 is creating the class. Step 2 is writing the actionPerformed method. including the code inside of that. So if our checkbox is checked, if it is selected, then we want to highlight the button by setting its background color to color.yellow. And we want to set it to be opaque so that we can see that background color. If it's not selected, we don't really need to change the background color. We just need to set opaque to false, so we'll just see the original background color behind it. So step 1 was creating the class. Step 2, creating the action performed method. Step 3 is tying it into our checkbox. So let's go find chk prime, and we'll say chk prime.add action listener new prime checkbox handler. And let's run our program. If we check the box, we get a yellow background. If we uncheck it, the background goes away. Awesome. Looks like our program is working perfectly.